This is true even when the elites self-identify as Republicans. Well, we know this because it's the what? Uniparty over here. They typically may be more conservative than elite Democrats. Well, that says nothing. But they have the same attitude. Sure, absolutely. Think of the other Republicans. They love spending, they love wars, and they love the military-industrial complex. Look at Nikki Haley. So, look, the Patriot Act was passed by Republicans and Bush, right? So you've got the Tyranny Act. We call it the Tyranny Act. So freedom is different than Republican. Constitutional is different than Republican. The elite class, regardless of party, is an exclusive club that sees and experiences America through a different lens than ordinary America. Absolutely. We've got the Uniparty driving big spending, and many of those people will benefit from that, right? And their corporate sponsors will benefit, right? If you like our mission, please like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification button. These results conform to what people have long supported. There are two Americas. We've said that a long time. One is wealthier, more highly educated, and attended the best schools. They put much more trust in big government to, quote, do the right thing, in quotes. And by their own admission, and this is interesting, which we said, benefit more from expansive government policy. So there you go. Big government policies help whom the most? The small business guy? No. And we want free markets on the freedom side, right? We don't want the government picking the winners and losers or aiding. We just want the free market to work, and that's not happening right now. We have this mixed economy, which is not free market. And there have also been hurt far less by the high inflation of the Biden presidency, those who live paycheck to paycheck and are in the lower and middle classes. Look, if the goal is to wipe out the middle class, they're doing a great job. If you want a neo-feudal system, they're doing a fantastic job, and you're going to like it, right? If you're getting more powerful, richer, and the lower classes and middle classes are getting worse, and your power and control and money's growing, you're going to like what their government's doing, right? Spend all that money. All right, there's a faction that wants the middle class gone. We've talked about that. Let's keep going, because this is a long piece, I think. This Grand Canyon-sized chasm between where Americans stand, expanding government, draconian, working class voters are where the Republican Party should be getting their votes from and focused on. All right, we've talked about this often. Working class is where the Republicans should be seeking their votes from. All right, the two Americas and how the nation's elite is out of touch. 73% of the elites were what party do you think? 73% of the elites were Democrats. 14% were Republicans. So still the Republicans are, the study also examined, and should be interesting to you, Jeff Snow, a subsample of elite adults who attended Ivy League schools, Jeff Snow. So where do you think this is going? What do you think about the Ivy League or other private schools, including Northwestern, Duke, Stanford, and University of Chicago? Roughly half of those we classify as elites. Half of those we classify as elites attended one of these schools. Now think about the heavy indoctrination at those schools, right? And where they're coming from before they get there. Could be the sons of bureaucrats, the daughters of bureaucrats, people that grew up in Washington and New York and Wall Street in those classes, right? For the purpose of this study, we label those who attended one of these schools as Ivy League graduates, and this is interesting. Comparison results shown for all voters were asked in independent surveys of 1,000 registered voters, each conducted between May and September 23. Only about 20% of all Americans say they believe they're getting better, their finances. But among the elite, what do you think happens? The number more than triples to 74%. And among the Ivy League, here's the difference. We're going to the Ivy League now. Among the Ivy League school graduates, what's the percentage you think? 88% say they're better off, right? And these people probably go into bureaucratic positions, Wall Street, things like that, right? Connections are powerful. And you see that they're mainly Democrats. So anyway, let's move on. There's a lot to say here. This may explain why the media academics high income tend to rate the economy as good, while Americans say the economy is bad. Hey, this is why we want free markets and not the government picking the winners and losers, right? One of the reasons. All right, them versus us. And we talk about freedom a lot. When Americans are asked if there's too much or too little, elites are 3 times more likely to say that there's too much individual freedom, almost 6 out of 10. We talked about that. But this is an interesting fact. Almost 6 of 10 of the graduates from elite colleges think there's too much freedom. So freedom for them, we know they're not going to give it anything. No freedom for you, right? They're going to choose if you can drive a car, where you can live. You can live in a 15-minute city. They say it. They're at Davos. You can read about it. You can see all that. You will own nothing and be happy. So they want to decide for you what you're going to do. Control. They just said it. You will wear a mask, you will drive an electric car, and then you'll have no car, right? Now, what's the difference? Now, on our side, the freedom side, you can wear a mask if you want. You can drive an electric car if you want. We don't care. But I'm going to drive a V8 and not wear a mask, right? So, but you can do what you want, right? On the freedom side, you can put on a mask if you want. You can wear it to Gold's Gym if you want. You can drive an electric car, a tiny car if you want. You can drive no car. Anyway, here we go. Climate change is clearly an obsession of the very rich. What percentage do you think of the elites? An astonishing 77% of the elites, including nearly 90%, this ought to scare you, who graduated from the top universities, favor rationing for you. Ration of energy, gas, and meat to combat climate change. That's lowering your standard of living. This is important to know. 90% of the elites who graduated from the top universities favor rationing energy, gas, and meat to combat climate change. You can be cold. You can be hot in the summer. You can die. You can be poorly nourished. But we gotta have control over you. Climate control. You can eat bugs, right? Among all Americans, 63% oppose this policy. Them versus us. Almost 2/3 of elites said they would pay $500 or more each year in taxes and higher costs to reduce climate change, while nearly as many average Americans, 72%, said they would be willing to pay $100. Look, no more taxes. The government spends way beyond. We should never have any more taxes. We need to be reducing taxes. They don't ever stay within their budget, so why would we ever give them another cent? And in the Fed. Repeal the 16th. We need to be eliminating taxes, not adding any. Favorable opinion of the members talking to the professions. At most, half of Americans have a favorable opinion of lawyers, lobbyists, unions, or journalists. That's high for all that's happened, I think, for half of Americans to still have a favorable opinion. However, almost 80% of the elites hold a favorable opinion. Sure, they're promoting the narrative they want. Makes complete sense. They are the elites, right? 80% of the elites hold a favorable opinion of this group, and nearly 90% of the elite college attendees. 90%. So the elite college attendees are gone, right? As for members of Congress, how do you feel about Congress? If you're in a group right now, what's the poll? What's your rating of Congress? 28% have a favorable opinion versus 67% of elites. So Congress has completely failed, as we know, on debt, deficit, borders, everything. Defending the Constitution and upholding it. They have failed. To America's now the nation's elite is out of touch with average Americans. Biden approval rating. Surprisingly, and not surprisingly, at a time when Biden's approval rating among voters was in the low 40s, his performance earned approval from 84% of the elites. Sure, he's pushing what they want. He's pushing their values, social issues, division, and many of them are benefiting from his policies. Green energy, big pharma, big military industrial complex, right? Bureaucracy's thriving, big government's thriving under him, which what? Debt helps. On the question of who should decide what children are taught, there is a massive divide. 2/3 of the elites would prefer a candidate who said teachers and other educational professionals should decide. Only 38% of the voting public shares that view. Hey, if you want to push, like we said earlier, same thing, trans, critical race theory and all that, you like it. Control, bad indoctrination, right? Bad propaganda. Out of touch with average Americans banning cars and household appliances. Between half and 2/3 of elites favor a ban on a list of modern convenience. Gas stoves, important. Gas-powered cars. Look, I like my gas-powered car. Air conditioning, SUV, and non-essential air travel, meaning No relaxing vacation flights for you to Hawaii. They will fly to Davos, but you can fly nowhere. They will make the choice for you. They will have a high standard of living. Yours will decline. 2/3 of the Ivy Elite school graduates would ban each of these. So 2/3 of the elites would take away your gas car, your gas stove. That's dangerous. That's scary, right? Stop here. That's dangerous that they have the arrogance to believe that and they want that control. It's not surprising because they say it all the time. It's not surprising. But it is control over you. Again, on the freedom side, we say if you want to drive one, drive one. They say we're going to take your cars away. We're going to put a kill switch on it. We're going to do this and that. That's the Uniparty, by the way. The Uniparty did the kill switch. Shut your voice down. We don't like what you see on social media, shut it down. We'll call it hate speech. We'll call it misrepresentation, right? We'll fly on jets. You can't drive a V8 or any gas cars. And you can't even have a gas stove now. See, they just keep encroaching and moving, pushing. Should we go on trusting government at a time when the government's credibility should be called into question? The elites are far more likely. The data shows that 70% of the elites trust the government, do the right thing most of the time. More than twice. That's scary, but not surprising at all. Among the most politically active members of the elite, the figure rises to a stunning 89%. What do you think about that? If you're in a group, what do you think about that at home? Conclusion, the elites, a group of extraordinary political and societal power, have views and attitudes that are widely out of touch with you and the American people. There's a gap, a big gap. And it's focused on freedom, and we're freedom. We're for freedom. Most Americans think there's too little freedom, it goes on to say in The Nation, a view shared by only 20% of the elites. They took an oath to defend and uphold the Constitution. Are they doing it? Of course not. Many of them. Denigrating it. The judges, look at what the judges have done. It's a disaster. Roughly 1/3 of these elites talk politics daily. We talked about that. 69% of this politically active segment believe there's too much individual freedom. Only 12% of the public view that there is not enough individual freedom in America. Now, he goes on to say these are un-American views. They're not the result of conspiracy. Just over half of the elites have a degree from one of the 12 elite universities. Schools play a crucial role in defining the elite culture and perspective, right? They do, right? Especially if you grow up in Washington too, right? Grow up in Washington, then go to school. Among those who attended one of the 12 schools and talked about politics daily, 73% believe there's too much individual freedom in America today. 73%. And 95% trust the government to do the right thing. Elites who are 55 or older, just 10% think there's too much individual freedom. A majority, 54% of elites under 35 hold the view, and get this, believe there's too much individual freedom. And we've seen this polls before. We did an earlier one where the people of a certain age wanted more into surveillance in their homes, right? So freedom is ticking down. That's alarming. So we need to talk to as many people as we can and bring them over. They're not the enemy. They're people to bring over, right? If you want a neo-feudal society, this is the way you go. Other attitudes in the survey flow naturally from the difference in the individual to fight climate change. To fight climate change, members of the elite want to remake America. Several politicians said, what? We're going to transform America, right? And that's what they're trying to do with all this. Lower the standards of living for you and you'll have less ability to stand peacefully. Okay, it's important to note he says that not all members of the elites are elitists, but look, that's a high percentage, right? So we can bring some over, right? Some don't think about politics much at all. Others actively support traditional American values. Still, given the influence they yield, the overall views of the elites, and that's right, the overall views represent a threat to America, right? And the founding ideas of freedom, self-governments. So look, for this information, what else is it? It's an opportunity. It's an opportunity for you to read, know, talk to people, and bring them information and move them to the freedom side. And that's what you can do. One person a week, right? That's 52 people that you can move to the freedom side. You can do more some weeks, but that's a simple action you can take. Talking to people, sharing why you like freedom, why freedom's important, how we are losing it, and how we've been losing it over these decades. If we want to keep freedom, it's up to us. Up to us talking to people, moving them. If you're a man, you can get in one of our men's groups. We talk about history, philosophy, politics. All right, listen. Many are not paying attention to history at all. They just tuck down what we just said earlier, Thomas Jefferson statue. It's up to us to protect our history, our legacy. It's up to us to share it. They're not going to do it. They're trying to tear it down. We must be vigilant in protecting our history. And this is an opportunity, right? Because if only 9% of people are paying attention, if 30% of them is, what if we get ours up to 40% and we're paying attention and we're moving the dialogue and we're sharing information? So if we want to maintain freedom, we have to pay attention, read, stand for it peacefully, and pass along information. We can't get just caught in bread and circuses, Super Bowl, football games, and all this. We have to pay attention, our side, the freedom side. Example, the border. It was a great statement by Abbott. We talked about it. It's a great constitutional moment to look at a constitutional moment. Now what counts? Are they going to follow through? Is the Texas state legislature going to follow through? Are the sheriffs going to follow through? Are we going to pay attention to that? Distract, distract, distract. You got all these problems. Abbott wrote a good statement, but what's he going to do with it? What's the Texas state legislature going to do with it? What are the sheriffs down there? What's the attorney general going to do, right? You have to have constant follow-up because this side is constantly moving ahead with their goals. So what is our side going to do? Are we really going to establish border security? Not if we're not relentless. Not if Abbott and the others aren't relentless. We'll see how it goes over the next few months. And we'll see what is being done. Again, it's up to us, two Americas. You can have rule of law or rule of ban. You can have free speech or you can be silenced and censored, and you can have hate speech. We can have free markets or government picking the winners and losers, and it will be up to us. We can move this country to more freedom or more tyranny. It's up to us. If you like our mission, please like, comment, hit the notification button, and subscribe. Thank you.